are here. This has been quite a discovery for me, and as with anything in R&D, once you come across something, it can be quite exciting. I've seen early examples of this kind of thing on the Bifrost announcement trailers, but I've never seen anything on the internet at all, anywhere, where they show anything like this and how you can do it. So I believe for you guys this is a first, and hopefully this is now going to open it up to everyone. I've spent a lot of time researching this, a lot of time trying to work out how to do this. So take this knowledge and build upon it, and we'll start to progress and move things forward a lot. There is going to be a part 2 to this video, because there is something else in my mind where I want to take this a step further. But today's video is going to be fairly lengthy. There's going to be a couple of plug-in compounds you're going to need, but I will put the link in the description for those. There's only a couple. I believe there's one from the Rebel pack, I can't remember, and there's also one from the MJCG compounds that Maxime uploaded to the area. But again, I'll put the links in the description, and just give me a shout if you've got any problems with installing those compounds. It's quite easy. So yeah, fibers. Really interesting, really different, and you can get some seriously mad detail going on. So look, let's just get going. Again, I'm learning as I go with this, and I'll just sort of show you where I'm up to. Right, so let's just start by talking about strands for a second. So I'm just going to drag out this cube, and I'm going to put a few values in here, and we can discuss why working with MPM Fibers and the way that I created my initial strands doesn't work with this setup, and I'll just quickly show you why. Let's just create a graph, and I'm just going to drag this over here a little bit. So I want to create some strands, and then I'll kind of want to cut through those strands, much like we see in some of these examples. But when you create a strand in Maya, let's just create them. So let's just do something like, I don't know, so let's just construct some strands, construct strands, and then we're going to need a point position. So I'm going to go over get point position from here, and I'm just going to drag that into there, and we're going to drag that strand into there. So what we've got now is strands running along our object, but what we've also got is the strands coming back on themselves again, and kind of closing that strand gap, as it were. And that's where the problem is, because when we run a simulation on that, the strands that come back to the start, they don't sample correctly, or how I want them to at the moment. But we'll get further with this. So let's just delete that, and I'm just going to delete the nodes in the Bifrost graph. So I'll show you how I did the setup. So we're going to start with a plane, and just get my grid up for a minute because I don't want to be sampling something enormous. So let's just get down to about this kind of size. That'll do. And right, so here's our plane, and I'm going to add some divisions. Let's just do quite a few. We can always come back and add more divisions, which is, the joy of Bifrost. So the first thing I'm going to do with this is I'm going to drag this plane into here, and then I'm going to create, let's just go create strands along normals, right? So my way of thinking was that if we just go into geometry and into strands, what we get is this, which is cool because, well, you'll see soon. The first thing we need to do is get these normals longer. So I'm just going to go with, I don't know, let's go with like 8. Is that good enough? Let's go 10. Right, so here's our strands sticking out, doing their thing. Do you know what? Let's go 12. Okay, So these strands are going to act as these guys, yeah, and they will bend and deform when we plug them into an MPM simulation with a subsequent solver, which is pretty amazing. So let's now create. Let's create our constraints. So here's the cube, and I'm just gonna drag this along here and up there and out here, and I'm just gonna put that kind of. Let's just get rid of the grid again. I'm just going to put it just inside there, so the strands are inside it. Just have a little look. Strands are inside that. Okay. So that's our first constraint, and then we're going to create a second constraint, and we're going to put that there. Yeah, our strands are inside it. Let's just move it along a little bit more. Right. So there's our strands and our constraints. So first things first. Let's get the editor open again. I'm going to just rename these to constraints. Constraint 2. I'm going to drag those in and then this in. We'll just start to build our little scene up here. I'm going to put in a floor, so I'm going to create a cube, and I'm just going to scale that down, zip it out here and here, and I'll drag that, drag it down to about there. Fine. I'm going to just rename that floor, and I'm going to drag that into the graph as well. So now we've got some bits and bobs. Let's move the input out of the way. Plane shape. I should rename that really, but whatever. We've got a floor, constraints, and our do what's. So here are our strands. And the first thing we need to start doing, let's just get the MPM going. So we want MPM solver settings. I'm on a simulate MPM, and then I want a fiber, make MPM fiber. All good at the moment. So we want to just drag in our strand into the geometry part of the MPM fiber and get rid of that. We're going to stick in our settings into the MPM simulate node, and then we're going to drag our fiber source down into the sources tab. So now we know we can drag the fiber strands out. Without a constraint though, we're going to have some problems because it's all just going to drop to the floor. So we're going to go constrain MPM. There's a new little node here, so we're going to go out MPM source into the sources, and then we want our constrain geometry, which is our constrain cubes that we created earlier. They're both going to go into here. And then we want our MPM source coming into here, which is the fiber. I believe that's correct. So start frame, end frame. So I'm just looking at the constraint MPM node here. We've got strength. It's like either 1 or 0, so it's on or off. So, you know, let's just leave it on. And I'm going to drag the fiber strands down into the output. I'll let it compile for a few seconds, and we'll just go and check and see what we've got. Oh, what I didn't do is the floor, so I want a collider for that. And just pause the graph again, Control plus period, and I'm just going to collider this into the collider, and here's our floor shape, and we'll just natty that in there. Thank you very much. Right, Control plus unpause. So let's minimize that. No, not the whole thing. Minimize that. Thank you. And now, if I press play, we should have a thing going on. There we go. It's moving. It's doing something. And I'll talk to you about the reasons it's not doing too much at the moment. And that is because we've barely got any almost divisions really in these strands at the moment. So we need to resample those strands. And that's where the MJCG compounds are going to come in handy. No, it's not actually. This is from the Rebel pack. So let's just have a look in the Bifrost graph. So Rebel pack, I implore you to download that if you want to do this. There might be another way of resampling the strands, but I don't know it. So I'm going to go resample strands, and let's just pause the graph again, and we're just going to drag our strands into the strands and our strands out into the geometry, and we'll just get rid of this. So now we're resampling the strands, and we can see that there's a constant count, distance. We can up and down these numbers, and this will give us more floppy strands. Also, there's a whole bunch of attributes in the MPM fiber itself where we can change the strand's weight, viscosity, thickness, all sorts of stuff, and also failure, which I'm going to tick on now because that is what is going to allow those strands to break. So let's just rewind and play that now. And we can see it's slightly more floppy, but I'm probably going to have to take the detail size of the solver down because that's going to help with collisions and stuff like that. So let's just get the detail size of the solver down. I'm going to bring that down to about 11. And then I'm going to jump into the collider itself for the floor, and I'm going to bring that down to... Actually, I'm going to make that absolute. Slows it down a little bit, but it should help our cause. So let's just rewind and play, and there we can see everything is now more floppy, which is what you want in this instance only. So yeah, they're about to collide with the floor, and it's going to slow things down a little bit. But what I might do is let's just stop that. A second, hit escape. Come on now. I find that strands are a little bit slow at first, but for some reason when I start working with them for a while, it all speeds up. Right, let's rewind that, go back to the graph, and let's just pause the graph for a second. Something always goes wrong when I'm doing these tutorials. I never cut it out. Maybe I should. Maybe it's unprofessional, but whatever. It's free content. What do you want? Right, so back to the graph. Let's unpause that. So we've got a resample strands going into our MPM fiber, and we've got a collider, and we've got the constraints. All of that is working. I might just bring those solver settings just up, just a tad, just to speed things up, just for the tutorial. But do note that bringing this detail size is going to give you a more excellent simulation. The next thing we need to do is create some kind of cutting mechanism so that these guys cut and fail, which is fun. It's not like in that collider at all at the bottom there. I believe it might be because it's absolute, so I might go back and change that or bring the size down a little bit because we don't want excuse me, slow simulations, and that is a bit silly, that is. So let's give it a second. Testing my patience. Right. Control plus dot. So look at this collider again. We've done wrong. We're at absolute. Let's go relative and just bring the detail size down to like 1. Hopefully that sorts it out. Unpause the graph. Move Bifrost out of the way, rewind and play, and let's see how we're going now. If it hits that floor and sticks, I'm just going to leave it for now and just get on with the tutorial. No, that is much better. There we go, and things are starting to fail and go nasty and horrible. So these are fibers, and they're doing fibery things, which we haven't seen before. So that's a plus. So let's get back on with it. Next step, let's create our crunchy things. So I'm just going to pause the graph, and I'm going to create some dastardly sharp object. It probably doesn't even need to be sharp, but we're just gonna do some amazing modelling here and create our first sharp cutter thing. And then we're going to duplicate it, Control D, we're going to rotate it around, bump, 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 bring it, and just make sure that those two are touching and cutting. So these are our cutter friends, cutter, and then we have cutter 2, nice and descriptive, and around, let's say 40 seconds is when they're both closed, and we'll just animate back maybe 25 seconds. Just bring that back there and bring this one back here, and we'll give them both a couple of seconds to sit there. Same with this one, and then we'll come out and we'll just get rid of them at frame 55, frame 60 quickly. Goodbye and goodbye. Right, so that's these guys coming in, and then chop chop. While I'm here, I'm just going to check if I've got any Bezier curves, because I don't want to sort of speed up really quickly. Yes, let's just linearize those. Do! Right, chop. Excellent. So we need to bring in cutter 1 and cutter 2 to the graph. So let's do that. Cutter 1, cutter 2. Awesome. Let's maximize that graph so you guys can see. Cut shape, constrain. Let's bring the constraints up there. Let's get rid of the input, and we've got a collider here, so let's just Control C, Control V that guy, and change all its outputs and whatnot. Let's just make a copy of that. 2 colliders, 2 cutty things. Alright, and so we're going to stick those colliders into the colliders of the Simulate MPM. When I'm working in a graph and it starts to get a little bit more crazy, it's kind of nice just to move things about a bit. So you're looking at things in levels, and don't worry about it so much. Don't worry about it as a whole big thing. Just, let's just deal with this bit. Let's deal with the strands over here. And you can, if you're working with strands, you can always unconnect the simulation and then plug the strand stuff down into the output down here and just kind of troubleshoot certain things. It's really quite nice. So we've got our colliders, we've got our strands. What else do we want to do? I want to keep those constraints constrainty, so we've got strength on those. Let's just have a look what it says about strength. I'm pretty sure that a strength of 0 corresponds to unconstrained and a value of 1 to hard or absolute constrained. Fractional values indicate soft constraints. The surface will behave as a... So, there's no point putting 1,000 in there because it only works with 0 and 1, on and off. And the more detail that you have in your MPM solver, the more likely they are to play ball. So let's just do that. So the fibre itself, at the moment, it's quite a heavy fibre, so we could probably nip the 1 off of here, and so we've just got a mass density of 500. Thickness, obviously the thicker we make it, the more mass it's got, but that's kind of controlled by the density, so we could play with the thickness, but I'm not going to. We've got a failure at 2, let's put that up to 3, so the only thing that really makes that fibre fail is our cutter, guillotine, whatever you want to call it. So let's just unpause, and we are going to go back and rewind selector. Okay, so let's just give it a little play, shall we? Let's just see what occurs. Play. So our strands fall in, and our cutters are about to start making a move in, hopefully. Here they come. Cutty, that's all that's on my mind. And chop. There we go. You have now just chopped fibres and created some cool effect that you've never done in Maya before in your life. So that is excellent. Great. We've covered the basics. And it's not that, it's not that bad, is it really? And it was quite easy to work out. Once you can sort out the strands thing, which we did, which is really clever when you think about it. They're just pointing out from normals of a plane, and they intersect into these. But because we've said, yeah, you're a fibre, and we've resampled the strands, they've now got some volume to them, and they've got divisions to them, and they're dynamic, which is nuts because they're just sticking out of. They even look like long normals. Madness. But let's not get hung up over it. Okay, so collider stuff, and let's keep all the collider stuff down here. I'm just going to tidy up some of this. I might even make a nice little square for it. Backdrop, that's all our collider stuff. Here's all our MPM stuff and our fibre constrain MPM. Yeah, I'll leave that there as well. We'll make a little backdrop for that. So everything's even more simple now, and we can colour it if we want. We'll just go with something a little bit, I don't know, green-ish. And then our strands will just do the same thing. Okay, little backdrop there. Constraints. Same here. There we go. Everything looks simple. Now we can drag them all around nicely. Keep them close together and whatnot. So that's good. So next up, I am going to take it a step further. The step further isn't in any of this. Oh, obviously I haven't shown you. Right, so I haven't shown you how to drop particles on top of them. That's kind of a given. Because we're using MPM, we can create some sand particles or some snow particles on a sphere and let it drop, and it will collide with the rest of them. I don't think I need to show you that, how to do it. But, hit me up in the comments when you're, around the same sort of time you're pressing the like button and subscribing. And if you want me to show you how to do that, then that is fine. But I will show you how to do this, if you like. Yes, please, or you say. So what we could do is let's just pause the graph, and then if I just go into here and I type in knit, we can create a simple knit. And all we need to do is, where's our knit? All we need to do is let's just unplug that fibre and plug that into the fibre, and let's just, actually no, let's leave that unplugged for a minute. Let's plug this just down into the output. Alright, and let's just unpause the menu. Jesus. Right, so here is this knitted thing down here, and we've got a whole bunch of options for that, so we can just stick in some numbers here. That will update. Let's just unplug the fibre strands for a minute. Let's just play with our knit. Points per knit 150. Just make it bigger. Let's just go 500 and 100. Makes it a bit bigger. Let's just go 300. And then I'm going to translate it. I'm going to like minus 10. Bound to go the wrong way. Yeah, I told you. Let's just go 10. Where's our knit gone? God damn it. We're all the way over there. What the hell? How about a naught? Right, it's Z that we want to move it. Let's just go minus 5 in Z. Yeah. Minus 10 in Z. Right, so it's almost in the right area. And we just want to stretch that out a bit. I honestly, it would be so much nicer if you could just like do this in some nice manual way. But yeah, our knit is now inside those constraints. which is great. So I'm just going to move this constraint back here a bit. So these are strands, but they're knitted together, and there are some attributes for them in here where you can play around with the loop size and the scale and all that good stuff. But I'm just going to drag this back here and drag the knit. Let's get the graph paused again. Undo that, and I'm going to drag the knit into the fibre. Oh yes, and then the fibre out into the output. And I'm just going to control and unpause the graph. And now that knit is dynamic, which is crazy. So if we press play now, the knit should, I mean, I must admit, this knit is really dense. Really dense. Probably should have gone with something else. But it's all about the detail. You want as much detail as possible. Yeah, you might have to just take my word for it that this works, but let's just let it run. It's not like we're rendering or anything. So we're coming up to the 20-second mark, and our dude's going to come in here, and this is where we're going to start to see like a whole bundle of detail, because obviously we've got a lot of detail in the knit. Being as it's a strand, we will add rendering capabilities to it through like the Arnold strands shadery thing. Here comes our cutters, and we're going to get some action. Hopefully that hasn't fallen too far and it misses it, but I think we should be alright. Here we go. Come on, boys. Yeah, it misses it. Yeah. Excellent. It's quite annoying, isn't it? Anyway, take my word for it that that works. It will just crush it and, well, look, it will do this. Okay, that is what it will do. These knits are less dense, all right, and you can make yours less dense, but I'm not going to faff about it because I need to get on to the next part, which is the pièce de résistance, which I haven't actually done any play blasts on yet. So let's go back to the graph. Right, hopefully you're with me at the moment. I'm just trying to motor through all of this. I'm just going to undo the output for a minute. Let's get rid of this knit. It's annoying the hell out of me. We're going to put our strands back into our fibre. Actually, I don't know why I undid that, but let's just put it back here again. So, the next part is bonkers, and is going to require the MJCG node that I'm talking about again, but you might not want to do this, so let's just get building the next part. So let's let's just get started. So I'm going to create a torus. You probably know what's coming here, but there's a torus. I'm just going to sort of scale that in a bit. It's not really the right way of doing it at all, but you know, for this, and let's rotate another one around, and let's pull that there. It's a horrible looking chain. I can't do it. I'm sorry, I can't do it. I just need to thicken this up a bit. Thicken that up a bit. And then let's just grab some verts. Soft select. No, soft select. Let's just pull that in a bit. Let's just bring that down a bit. You can see I don't plan these videos. Oh yeah. That'll do. That's a bit more ish chainy. I just gave it away. Chainy. Right. So let's drag that to there and drag this to here, and cool. So I'm just gonna edit, delete by type history, modify, freeze transformations, and I'm gonna combine them. There are other ways of making these two separate, but it's long, so we're not doing it. So there's our chain link there. There's the chain link, and it is enormous. So let's just bring it down a bit. So let's get a graph open and let's bring the chain link in. But how do we link it all together? The answer, my friends, is an instance. So if we go in here and we'll create a set instance geometry, and we'll get our chain link shape into the instance, and then there's our strands. Now then, yeah, let's just do it without this plugin on the next bit, and then I'll show you why you need the plugin. We're going to put our instances into the geometry of the MPM fiber, okay, and we are going to put the strands into the points. Alright, so it's taking the points from here and it's putting an instant geometry, which is this, over the top, and we are feeding that into the MPM fiber. So from here on out we can unpause the graph and have a little look to see how that's working out for us. There we go, we have got something constrained along there. All we need to do really is grab our initial chain link and start to scale it down until we can see something that resembles our chain. There we go. Almost. It's just getting close. There we are. Chains. How sick is that? The only thing that would make it even sicker is if it actually worked when we press play. So let's just press play. For some reason that one's falling down on its own. I don't know why. But we can see it's working here. Let me just rewind that. Not really sure if that's... Oh, that's barely through there. So let's just pull that over a bit. There you go. So if I press play now, it should stick there. It's not. It's still behaving. Oh, it's starting to. I think really probably just need to pull down the detail size on the solver. But yeah, it is sticking there. It's alright, just needs a little bit of troubleshooting. So we've got chains, but let's look at this side because it's more nice to look at. When I press play and these chains start to fall, you can see an issue. And that is that the chains, the links, they're all still there, but they're not linking together anymore. And that's to do with the strands orientation. So we'll rewind this. And this is where you're going to need the nifty little plugin from Maxime. Let's just go ciao. So we've got the resample strands, and then now if we just go to update strands orientations, yep, let that drag in there. Let's just pause the graph again, and we'll take our strands into there and our out strands into the points of the instance geometry, literally just replacing what we had there. They should now work, so I'll just unpause the graph, actually, yeah, and then let's get rid of the graph, let it compile. So now when I play, rewind, oh hello, they've gone a bit crazy, so let's have a look at the orientation node. Update orientations, up vector, maybe I want to change that. The quicker thing to do would be just to rotate the chain link, potentially, to keep the up vector the same, but let's just... I'm just going to do that. It's terrible, but I'm just going to do it. There we go. Okay. The joys of non-destructive workflows. So now if I press play, those are still oriented. Yeah. Excellent. If we keep playing, these guys will come in and chop it up. Here they come. Yeah, we can just about see that. They're getting chopped. And you'll start to get, let me just stop that at a really beautiful part. You start to get absolutely amazing detail going on. Look at that. And when you render that, you can do some really spectacular dynamic shots. I did one earlier on my Twitter page. You guys should actually come and follow me on Twitter, to be honest. There you go, something like this. Looks really nice. If you want to follow me on Twitter, by the way, it's if you just look for @StrangeBox, which is my company name, and then you'll see Phil, aka a Maya guy, on there, and come follow me on Twitter. Also on Maya Guy Tutorials on Instagram. So for today, that is that. Shading wise, it's the, maybe I'll just go into that quickly, into the shading. We just, well, to be honest, just create down here. Actually, it is a bit of a faff. Yeah, I will show you. Alright, so look, we're going to go with an assign, because it's no good if you can't render it how you want it. Assign material. Let's pause the graph. Assign material, and let's just go into the hypershade. We'll scroll down and create an Arnold standard surface, and I'm just going to drag that into the graph. Okay, and while I'm in the graph, I'm just going to switch on like this brushed metal look here. So we've got our material, which is going to go into the surface material, and then here's the funny bit. If I drag the strands into the assigned material and the assigned material out into the output, then it's going to render the strands and the instance the same. So we need to think about that. So what we need to do down here is we need to create a set strands shape. Because what I want to do is I want to make that strand shape really small so we can't see it, and we can just see the chains. So I'm going to stick here. What am I doing? What am I doing? I need my set strands shape to be. Let's just get the fibers into the strands, and then we get the out strands into the geometry, and we get the geometry out here. So now with the set strand shape, I can go 0, 0, 1 and change that from ribbon to tube, and it's just going to render the instances. But in the viewport, you're now going to lose the chains. You won't be able to see them. They'll render, but you won't be able to see them in your simulation. So when you're coming back and troubleshooting your simulation, just bypass this back to here again. So let's just go and have a look and see what is there. Let's rewind. So we should just see, well, a representation of the strands at the moment, which is painful to look at. Let's just drag over the top of it. Where are we going? So strand shape. Oh, it's because it's so small. Look, let's just stick in 10 here. Move that out of the way, we'll be able to see them again. There you go. I can up that and you'll see them more and more, but the fact of the matter is we just want to see how this renders and if it renders. So I'll just quickly create an Arnold light, sky dome light, and I'll just hit some kind of render button. Hit render. Give it a few seconds. Guys, I would like to take this opportunity. It does take me a lot, to dig in and find all of this stuff. It's only because I'm in between projects at the moment, and my passion is to push all of this forward. And I literally give you this. This is free content for you guys. And what I'm trying to do is get exposure on my channel, get more subscribers, more likes. So literally, I can just become my guy, and that's what I'm doing all the time. So really, if you could just like, subscribe, do the whole bell icon thing where you get notified. Follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Just don't follow me down the street. Right, so there you go. It's rendering. That's it. That's all I've got for you today. Go and do some madness. And I hope you enjoyed this 17-hour long tutorial. Nice one, guys. Take care. Speak to you on part 2-ish. Cheers. Goodbye.